Hello, good morning. My name is Margus Tammeraja, and it's so very nice to be here at RT conference. And thank you, Evelyn, thank you, Aire, and special thanks to Eric. It's in the middle of night in your time zone. Thanks for being with us. And our panel discussion is going to give an answer to the question, is really possible that future is without reporting as we know today? And I guess Eric Cohen, who is the mastermind behind XBRL Global Ledger standard and all the concept, is the right person to explain a bit in a couple of sentences, what the heck is this XBRL Global Ledger? What's behind the concept? Eric.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. XBRL GL began as a vision of a practitioner in the field. I had been working with many different companies in trying to help them with their accounting systems, especially the small to medium enterprises. And as people began to use more information online, as they began to use web-based systems, third-party systems to do accounting in special services, working with payroll providers, that ability to take information from those third parties and bring them into their accounting systems was the first real spark. That, along with being able to take a current version of an accounting system and be able to move to a different version, to upgrade, to move to a different product, all of these were problems that my clients were having. And with the advent of the extensible markup language in 1998, I saw an opportunity to bring together the software developers, the accounting profession, and all of the people involved in the business reporting supply chain in being able to come up with agreements on how to move information into and out from accounting systems. With the advent of the XBRL movement in the late 1990s, early 2000, community of people began together to make this possible. And I had contributed in work that I had created called ADFAST, or the Accounting Data and Financial Statement Transfer Format, to this group so that we could have a very homogeneous system from first business event or transaction on through to the eventual reporting, also standardized. So a goal of XBRL GL was to make it so that a piece of business information, once it was entered into any computer anywhere, never needed to be retyped as it moved from first business event or transaction within an enterprise for better management and reporting, and then externally to the tax people or any other that needed to be reported to. It grew within that group, it became internationalized, and a smaller vision became a much broader one for all the information of an enterprise of any size anywhere in the world.
Global ledger, we have to emphasize the word global here, not general ledger as for us accountants understand it. And this global means that we can actually address a lot of global issues as sustainability reporting, for instance, which adds a lot of classification items to the business events. Perhaps this question is for Aire from Environmental Ministry, that how much of these classification items do entrepreneurs need to add to their future accounting entries to get the sustainability or ESG reporting done?
Thank you very much, and thank you very much also for this presentation, because this is a really key to have the full value chain provided with sustainability information. Indeed, we have, for example, the corporate sustainability reporting directive that will take force in 2023, and information that needs to be provided to the public as well as to the finance sector and to the management of the companies needs to be gathered throughout the value chain. So imagine that you are one company that needs to start reporting on your CO2 emissions or energy consumption, not here in your company, but actually somewhere else in the world where the production has been done. So I think two key points here is first, the value chain approach, there will be a lot of needed data about the environment, for example, energy consumption, material use, CO2 emissions, but also, for example, water usage and things like that, that might be new to companies. But the second part that I would like to highlight and where we would like to go is that the management needs to provide a plan for its sustainability. And without data, you can't make a plan and you can't measure it. So data needs to become a part of this same reporting that management uses at this point to make its decisions. So I think this is the second key takeaway to focus on here.
So we are talking about a lot of non-financial data, which is somewhat incomprehensible for accountants, for instance, who are very used with the value-based approach versus event-based approach. So do you see that the administrative burden for entrepreneurs and accountants especially will increase with these directive demands?
It will increase. It will need to be reported about the policies of the company, about their plans for 5 years and 10 years, how to measure this. To develop these plans, the company's management will need to report on this to the public, and there will be narrative parts. So that is descriptive part, and there will be binary, and there will be also parts that you can measure. But I think that the main change will be that we will need to build this whole new system into our accounting so that this data moves together with all of the invoices and all of the transactions as just mentioned here. So that is going to be a challenge for us.
This will be a super challenge, but Eric, perhaps you can explain how can this be done technically? Is XBRL Global Ledger Standard capable of handling all this data load and quality?
Yes, absolutely. My own experience with the role of ESG sustainability began 15 to 17 years ago, working with a project with the European Union in the carbon reporting. I have been part of the sustainability world, working with groups like the Sustainability Accounting Standards Board, the Global Reporting Initiatives, and others. So I understand the branding name GL, which, as you noted, is associated with the Accounting General Ledger. It's obscured the broader capabilities of XBRL GL for both qualitative and quantitative information, as well as both financial and non-financial information. Because XBRL GL from that beginning was designed to be a single lifeblood throughout the enterprise and with information partners for any type of business transaction or event. If there's a process, if there's a metric, if there's something to be acted upon, measured, consumed, or tracked, XBRL GL is able to represent it, especially in conjunction with standardized code sets or identifiers. So with standardized representations of events and their associated impacts, XBRL GL can lay down a foundation of automation that will reduce the compliance burden on people, can reduce the need for specialized programming, and better enable the efficient communication and integration of a broad variety of information.
I understand that XBRL Global Ledger will be a significant part of green accounting. Perhaps this is the nice term to use for explaining this thing to accountants. But accountants know a lot more about taxes, and we have Evelyn Liivamägi here from our tax board. I know that you have been thinking about implementing transactional reporting, or at least you have plans. Can you please tell when the VAT report can be issued in XBRL GL format?
Being a realist, I think it comes with an age. I don't think it will happen in the near future, but as a believer of automation, I think it will come one day. We started a couple of years ago with a statistics board to make a taxonomy for VAT return and for different reports of a statistics board. And we have accomplished it, but the developments, they take time. And at first, of course, we made it so that all the aggregation of the data that entrepreneur has to submit via tax return is done in the accounting system. And they only use XBRL GL format to present a return to us, not that they will send us the batches of information and we in our system aggregate it and calculate tax. That is done because then we didn't have to change the law and that make the rules for VAT returns. So we only thought how to change the technology and the ways to submit returns so that it would be more convenient, more simple for entrepreneurs and not change laws. But when you asked when it will happen, I think it depends on the demand of taxpayers and entrepreneurs. And right now, there is actually no demand. It's like our own initiative to offer one additional way, one additional format to present your tax returns. There are CSVs, XMLs. One day there will be XBRL GL, but from the accountant point of view, it's no difference. When you push the button in your accounting system and the system generates the report or part of the reports, so it doesn't matter. You still use our X-Road, you still use maybe this file upload system. So there has to be a demand from the entrepreneur side. They have to see what's the benefit. And I think where there is demand, there is much easier for us to find the money, to, I don't know, get the political wish to change those things. It's when you have different things to do and to prioritize, and there are political wishes and your own wishes. You most probably know what will be the first one to tackle. So those our own wishes.
Okay, but the accounting community actually supports your wishes because accountants do a lot of reporting today for entrepreneurs. And actually entrepreneurs seldom understand how complex it might be that giving all those documents timely to accountant, and accountant actually when they receive it on the 19th and you have to be ready with the report on 20th, then it's always a huge hassle. So we think as accountants that our profession greatly benefits from implementing XBRL Global Ledger Taxonomy Framework and all the technical solutions behind that. And specifically, we have those EU directives, sustainability, taxes, of course, and so on, which kind of force us to think in a standard way. So, Eric, perhaps you can explain a bit, should we have actually a global accounting entry standard or something like that?
So the value of a single standard, I'm not completely objective here in saying that. Of course, I believe that that's a very important thing. And in particular, the goal of XBRL GL, and one of the things that makes it unique, is its ability to recognize that there are different types of accounting and reporting. That the VAT reporting may be different than what management needs for their reporting. If there's a statutory regulator, they would have their perhaps different demands as well. Over the last 20 years, it has been my pleasure to work with many of the different standards that have been developed. In the VAT space in particular, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, developed a standard audit file for taxation, the SAFT, as well as one for payroll. In the United Nations under EDIFACT, under Edificas, under their standards group, they have developed some tax reporting standards. XBRL GL has embraced these and made them possible, but also recognizes that that type of reporting is different than you might have to do to a security regulator, an insurance regulator, to a company's house. One of the things that makes XBRL GL unique is the ability to track different types of reporting demands concurrently and be able to actually reconcile between them. Why is one different than the other? Is a permanent difference, a timing difference, as the accountants put it, for example. So there are many different standards out there. There are regional specific, there are purpose specific, there are country specific, so many different specificities, and of course reporting specific. But having one standard that crosses these all, which is the goal of XBRL GL, that has been tested in the VAT space, that's been tested in the security space, means once again that you can be putting down to excuse the expression, the set of railroad tracks, the foundation that makes scalability, being able to do more types of reporting more frequently, in more types, in more detail, with more support possible. So again, I'm not objective, but I believe that there are tremendous benefits to a great reconciler, a single standard, a single lifeblood throughout the enterprise for management purposes, as well as to meet today's and future compliance requirements with reduced compliance burden.
Super. Actually, Estonian accounting law states that the original document has to be in machine-readable format, which comes to electronic invoicing, electronic receipts, bank statements, and so on. Real-time economy concept actually is about getting things done in real time. So if we receive, for instance, electronic invoice, which contains all the sustainability and ESG classification items from the source, then accountants do not have to re-enter anything into their ERP systems. Or the same goes with all kind of taxation classification items or statistics or whatever. So if we have this accounting entry standard or XBRL global ledger classification items standardized and published in a public format available for all ERP packages, then all ERP packages can basically work in the same way. So the processes will be streamlined, and there will be less delays in handling documents and confirming, and perhaps even payments can be made faster than today. Although Estonia is very good in payments, as I understand, compared to other European or any other countries. So if we go back to green accounting, which is definitely a future topic here, then how do you see, do we actually have to have, let's say, instant reporting for green, let's say, aims or goals to achieve?
I think this is the future, and I think it will come through with these standardized measures. We, as Estonia, have promoted the digital product passport. So basically, the product has information about its climate and environmental aspects, for example, use of chemicals or use of water or anything else. And the simplicity of this is that once you have one product, you only need to insert this information once, and after this, the information will carry out with the contracts and with the e-invoices throughout the value chain. So this is where we want to go. And I think we need these real-time solutions, because you can't do tactical or operative decisions on the basis of a company without this information, if we have agreed and we have to be sustainable by 2030 already. So this is where we need to show the way. And we are doing this, and I would very much like to support also the need for global views on this. Because, for example, when we talk about sustainable finance, the companies that will invest in Estonia, they will come from the USA, from other countries, and they will need to meet the same standards as us. They need to have their own standards ready for this. So for sustainability reasons, they will get built into the company system just as any other turnover measurement or taxation measurement. Now the question is how to do it in the most reliable way, I would say.
And how to guarantee the data quality which flows through the whole chain. And of course, if we have, let's say, global standard for products and services and so on, and we have all those classification items in place, and we have international treaties to handle these things, then I guess receiving an invoice from, let's say, Portugal has all these ecological and CO2 related classification items already on electronic invoice. which means that if I resell some products from Portugal, then all Estonian reporting can be prepared automatically because I reuse the data which is already there. So I guess this is the ideal picture if we look at real-time economy concept in practice. What about tax board view on this? Should actually this one single source of information, which is standardized accounting entry with all the details, mean that we should have one central place where to send in this detailed data?
I think those large central databases are not things that I think the society accepts in nowadays. I think it should be done differently, but hearing what Aire said here, I think it's important to start somewhere. Before said that we have started, but the entrepreneurs, they don't see the benefit right now. But when we started building e-tax board in 2000, people also said that, why you are doing this? Only a couple of people use it. Why build something that society doesn't need? But they didn't know then that they will need that. Right now, everybody uses. I think that it's the same way with these new technologies. You have to start from somewhere. You have to, for example, start from tax board, from, for example, VAT return, take together a statistics board, Estonian bank, environmental authorities, different ones, where entrepreneurs have to submit reports. And so the benefit grows. And if you have the taxonomy in your accounting system that covers all the needs that you have to report to a state, I think the benefit is more visible then. And there are more users then. And if we can somehow make it more global, not only Estonian thing or another state thing, the benefit for international companies, I think it only rises then. So you have to start with small steps, and then I think growth comes itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think this is a very nice idea. But I think, Eric, you know a lot about distributed ledger technologies and Bitcoin and blockchain issues and so on. Maybe they're the technological answer to the solution, how to, let's say, handle these large amounts of data without centralizing it into one large database or Big Brother problem.
Well, thank you for asking my favorite question. For 20 years, I've been proposing a data-driven environment, as we're talking about here, one that's public, transparent, standardized, and cryptographically supported, where a single source of underlying data is proven, it's relied upon by the enterprise itself, and it's delivered safely to all who should have access to it. Now, while I had originally imagined something called XML Web Services as the channel, both for that ability to just build like a set of Lego blocks, all the different services internally and externally, with the one trustworthy set of underlying data, I do believe that blockchain and distributed ledger technologies have the potential to be a new, trustworthy, and immutable channel with amazing potential when you add in the smart contract capability that we've seen come out, tokenization, cryptocurrencies. None of this does happen automatically, of course. We have experienced over these years that concern. We don't want to be throwing more information into huge governmental data warehouses, but we do want to be able to grab the information when we need it, to trust that it is the official information, including any updates as necessary, but that we can track any updates to original transactions, so that as we in the accounting and audit profession know we need to do, we can always agree or reconcile any reporting details any reporting summaries with the underlying details. And so the ability to have information, whether it's on a single blockchain, and again, my focus is interoperability of blockchains, so that information is kept where it needs to be, not a data warehouse. Please excuse the pun, the WHERE, the data warehouse. Knowing where the data is, knowing that it is trustworthy, knowing that it's accessible, knowing that it only opens to the right people at the right time and the right detail is part of the broader vision here. It's a vision not with blockchain distributed ledger technologies, but in a way very similar, was adopted by the National Tax Agency in Turkey. They wanted to be able to have trustworthy information, but didn't want everybody to have to deposit all the data within their systems. So a system called the eDefter system was established. With blockchain-like principles, companies would take the data from all the underlying systems. They would express it with the single standard XBRL GL. They would then use cryptographic means and methods to create digital hashes. They would, using the national systems, create the equivalent of a blockchain by posting in the hashes into the system for their batches of data. So the data was not necessarily brought to the National Tax Agency. It was kept locally, but then when the National Tax Agency would need it, they could provide the cryptographic hash, and the company, as they should, would be able to provide the data on demand. And so keeping the data using cryptographic hashes, cryptographic means, knowing that the data is trustworthy, presenting it on demand is a large, is one that has had an example before. And again, I think with the emergence of digital distributed ledger technologies, we have a chance to take that and make it very mainstream for everyone's benefit.
Exactly. And Andres Lille mentioned my company data service project, what was funded by Connecting Europe facility. And this project actually is also basically a distributed technology, because all ERP packages can single-handedly or jointly have their own middle layer, which collects accounting transaction entries into an aggregated version, which can be represented to any public service which demands reports from us. So basically, Estonia has made some steps towards technical solutions which actually solves this future reporting issue. So now it's only about political will, what we have to have, and I guess some nudging or pushing, which is done anyway by EU and other, let's say, global organizations. And Estonia wants to be kind of in the same boat with the organizations, with the standards and stuff. So if we think about what hinders us going towards this nice future of reportless reporting, or however to call it, then Eric, what do you think? What are the things people are, or stakeholders are, afraid of the most?
Well, I already heard something that I definitely associate and feel for, and that is the issue of the software developers are waiting for customer demand. Regulators are also saying that we don't want to be forcing new technologies on people. We want to be hearing the demand. We want to be hearing the readiness. And so, again, I believe, and the academic community and the theory all says that the potential benefits of the standardized underlying data, of the data-driven internal and external communication processes, I believe everyone believes that the benefits are huge. But again, there is cost to move to this. Systems need to be updated. People need to agree on it. And believe me, there are many who are threatened by this kind of environment. Many industries have risen because they make their money compensating for the inefficiencies of today's environment, for systems that don't interoperate, for reporting requirements that aren't driven directly from the underlying data. So software developers, consultants, and many others are concerned about the loss of customers, people pressing the button, exporting all of the standardized data and moving directly to another system. Management in certain environments, especially in the world scene where there might be a confiscatory tax regime, they'd prefer that their own access to data be obscured. They would rather give up their ability to see what's going on in their own environments so that they can minimize third parties such as regulators or even their accountants having access and going on fishing expeditions, just seeing what they could find. And while 50 years of research, I've mentioned Professor George Sorter with events theory going back to the 1960s, saying that there's benefits to companies, there's benefits to all the different stakeholders of an events-driven reporting. It's also clear that although many of the hurdles that have been taken away with the internet, with huge amounts of storage, with emergence of standards, with the recognition that people need to come together under groups like the ISO. I heard sustainable finance, ISO TC 322. People developing the standards to make all this possible. It's clear from the pains that we've gone through over the last few years with the global data reporting initiative, the GDPR, and other privacy and general data protection initiatives, that solutions that expose only the right information to the right people at the right time in the right level of details necessary. So from the demand to the willingness to say we should move forward in this way, to overcoming inertia, to getting around the people whose ox is gored as we move to the more efficient systems. The people who say, how am I going to make money from this new, less expensive, more efficient environment? All of these are some of the hurdles that I've seen in moving to this kind of environment.
Exactly.
And everybody doesn't want to be first. And so it's great when you find people who do.
Yes, Evelyn wants to add.
I want to add that using all the possibilities that XBRL GL offers, it means that we can get much more detailed information. And I think this is something that taxpayers, they have another opinion. They don't think that they should send us so detailed information. There should be some balance point there. So I think this is the discussion in the society we have to, we have to make.
But in case we have, let's say, electronic invoices or e-receipts which contain all the detailed data, why not share the data with tax board?
I don't know why not.
Because the reports are done based on this data anyway, already today.
Yeah, but there are these hesitations from entrepreneurs' side. They think that too much business secrecy would be known then to a tax board, and do actually tax board keep the secrecy as they expect us to keep? And so there are a lot of hesitations there. But I think when you look what was considered non-public information like 10 years ago and what is public right now, there is a huge difference. For example, paid taxes is already now public information. Like 5 years ago, it was not public. So I think we are evolving. Maybe in 5 or 10 years, no one is talking anymore and why to share this detailed invoice information with the tax board when you yourself as a taxpayer can benefit from it. You can get more simple, convenient services, maybe faster tax refunds. So there are different benefits you can get.
Exactly. Aire, what do you think? Are entrepreneurs afraid of showing their environmental data, for instance?
I can be sure that they are, for some understandable reasons. For example, if we would go over to real-time economy in relation to the environment, we will actually see the economy turning towards sustainability, which would be extremely interesting, and we would see the impacts. But this would also mean that we would see the problems more clearly. So we will see where the problems are and where they are coming from. So this is something that is a concern for the enterprises. it's also in relation to the sustainability taxonomy that was presented here. There are taxonomy-aligned actions, and then there are some that could be aligned, and then there are some that are not aligned, which means that we would also have real-time information about who is not sustainable and where this takes place. And I think enterprises are concerned that they would be in this red category. And actually, I think that next year, or the year after that, when the first sustainability reports will need to be presented, this will become quite clear, because you will need to present the part of your turnover that is aligned with the taxonomy and the part that is not aligned, and it will become public. And I think that then it will be crucial that we understand that this is a Germany. Every step that we take towards a more green and sustainable economy should be taken into account, and this insurance given to the companies, so that we are not just classifying them based on their greenness. So yeah, there are concerns, and this is a lot about communication as well, to ensure that this is for the right cause, and we will take step by step, as mentioned here, small steps, but we will do this jointly.
So we should actually try to achieve that all entrepreneurs will feel that more transparency, more detailed data sharing with public sector helps them to stay, let's say, with the regulation, be more greener, for instance, and so on.
Leads to more honest competition, I'd say. Yeah? This being transparent is something you have to be afraid of. If you do everything right, it's like your reputation is higher. And I think this is the way we should go, that those who are honest and transparent, they are more highly appreciated, rather than those who find their ways how to not meet the regulations.
We have one question, or actually remark, that the biggest business secret under the question now is the price. With what price we are selling, how much we profit. And this, I guess, is the most touchy issue with the entrepreneurs. They don't want to show how much I profited from one business transaction or the other. But anyway, the reporting is basically not about this profit in detail, although we have to issue financial statements, and if they are made public, as in Estonia they are public, then everybody knows how much profit you made as a company in, let's say, 1 year's time with delay. There is a couple of questions from the viewers here, and I think we should go with one very technical question, as we have not very much time left. This question goes to Eric, and given the concerns on governance of blockchain techs, what about the example Solid protocol, which is developed by the W3C, that is supposed to create a sort of data vault?
What is the name of the initiative from W3C?
Solid protocol.
Solid protocol.
Yep.
So I'm involved in the standardization efforts around blockchain. I am a national expert and lead a national delegation to ISO TC 307 blockchain distributed ledger technologies. My goal in that, and the reason I thank you for bringing the topic up, is that my personal goal right now is to bring accountants and auditors into the blockchain era, but also to help blockchain be ready for accountants and auditors. For the last 20 years, the issue of selective unfolding of underlying data has been important to me. You will find my name on the W3C standard for XML encryption. For that exact purpose, is to make it so that only the right data can be exposed to the right people. And this comes from a long history of working with the parties in this reporting supply chain, where even in the United States, you may want a bundle of information to go to the tax regime as a whole, but you don't want motor fuels to see the same information as personal taxation as the same people for sales tax. So for payload to be delivered in one channel, but to selectively unfold to different people, working on the governance issues, working on the privacy issues, has been at the forefront of this development. To that end, I've been working on areas including the standardization of payload, making it so that blockchain, because there's so many different blockchains and people are developing these with no real mind towards 30 plus years of standardization, making it so that every blockchain can be developed its own way, store data its own way, but then point to underlying data, whether it's on-chain, off-chain, throwing out a technical term, IPFS, as one way that people are storing data in an immutable fashion, using APIs if we're getting technological to reach underlying databases, using standardization and governance efforts within groups like ISO TC 307 to be able to, again, make sure that the data is available, you know how to get to it, you understand the security, the encryption, the trustworthiness of the underlying data, but still fulfill this vision of selectively unfolding information so it gets to the right people at the right time in a usable format. I don't know that the W3C blockchain solid effort per se, but all these principles are built in and we're working on them.
There is one more remark about addressing in virtual world and data exchange protocols. How are these issues related with XBRL standards? Eric, perhaps.
And again, could you ask the question one more time for me?
Addressing and data exchange protocol issues. So we have XBRL standard as such, taxonomy framework as such, which is about data as such. But how about addressing and data exchange protocol, which might hinder going towards real-time economy?
Okay, so there are certain things that certainly XBRL, GL, blockchain, and all these technologies do not solve on their own. The inefficiencies of data from the beginning. Take one company, take International Business Machines, and whether it's IBM, I.B.M, International Business Machines International, there will always be issues that we will be unearthing as we move along here. But right now there are huge boulders in the way of getting information so that it can flow along. And it will be an iterative process of removing the boulders to find the rocks and removing the rocks to find the pebbles. The ability to help people to understand the data, the ability of XBRL GL to help bridge the data and make the programming easier and less onerous, the ability of people to build on and ask to it, getting past these huge boulders of issues will help us to be able to move to more services, to bring greater visibility to disparities between different environments, and continuing to work as part of the United Nations. We've been working just on trying to understand the differences between XBRL GL, SAFT, the UN CFACT EDI, and XML standards, working with ISO and their audit data standards works and others. So at this level, with the 20 plus specifications in the area, working with the underlying transactions where their details are in different levels of codes and formats, these are things that we work on, and we work on them iteratively, but we bring them together to bring more visibility so that we can deal with these issues more easily.
Okay. So I guess we describe the largest obstacles for accelerating real-time economy here. As we have just 40 seconds left with our panel, then last question, Aire, if you look at the world, then which country is doing in this reporting area better than us?
That's an interesting question, but the answer is Luxembourg.
Luxembourg.
Yes.
Okay, great. And same question to you.
I think we are the first one.
Okay.
No one is better. We have to believe that.
Green reporting, but yeah, I think we could be the first one as well.
When you think of what can you do electronically and how convenient it is, I think Estonia is the first.
All right.
Mhm.
So as I understand, Eric thinks also that we're implementing XBRL GL in a very, very rapid pace, and Estonia might be the best in the world with this. Okay, but our time is up.
Absolutely. What I'm hearing is a great example, and really look forward to seeing what happens here.
Okay, thanks for the most interesting discussion. Thanks, audience, for the questions. And actually, we do have a lunch here. Thank you all. Thanks, Eric.